Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, 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 hello.
Mhm. Okay, let's get started. So, I want to start a project named Mosbius Designs. It is going to be a timer. Let's set a timer. Timer. Get started. Alright, it's going good. Okay, there's going to be a clone in the Sigma, but there are many pain points in Sigma. As a developer, it is very hard to work with Sigma. Even a lot into Sigma, and and the developers who are turning the actual design into a product is also complaining a lot, and it is very hard as a developer to recreate and designer here using Sigma. and this is the product comes in. This is going to be seriously ignored, but instead of leaving the items and using a canvas as the design platform, I am going to use the canvas as the browser, and each page will have the canvas so that we can place icons and normal design designer. But behind it, instead of having the metadata, each of the designs in the screen, now it just uses the React to along tailwind of the tailwind of the styling tool, and it and for the are available to not just hard coding the design with absolute positioning possible within the CSS. It is going to be there is going to be a local version so that the code sits on the local computer, and instead of running the website, it just can design this ignore canvas, and if they want to modify anything with the code, they can do so. I editing the code. It is going to be a mono report using wheat plus tailwind, and also we are going to open source as of now. It comes out as well, and we can think about monetizing until then. It is going to be open source and this generally for my personal use. Okay, and this is made primarily for my personal use. So here's the plan, and I will tell you everything on the plan. So basically, what we are building is a Figma clone, but which instead of using a canvas, we just use React code as the design for the Figma. The core idea is not a Figma clone, it is develop a native visual design system as the source of truth. It's actual front-end code instead of a proprietary scene graph. Yeah, that's the exact thing I'm trying to build. Change the positioning entirely. Current tools like Figma optimize for designers first and developers second. Your concept optimizes for implementation parity between design and production code instead of exporting the code later. Yeah, right now what Figma does is it just renders the code after we complete the design using AI, uh, which will not give you 100% accurate results every time. But with my approach, it is actually not using AI at all. It is just showing you the code output in the canvas. So it will always be 100% accurate. So that's what I'm trying to implement here. So let's see what ChatGPT has provided me. Current tools, okay. Your concept automation and implementation factor between design and production code. Okay. The strongest parts of your idea are React plus David and the rendering engine instead of exporting the code later. The design surface being an actual browser slash runtime. Yeah. Local for software, yes. Directly editable from IDEs. Eliminating design to dev translation. So that's the exact pain point I want to solve using my approach. That is design to dev translation. And also, as a developer, when I want to design something using the React, or even when I try to create a website, uh, I'm not a person that usually designs in the Figma and then tries to code it. I just play it with the code and then work with the design later. So the biggest problem I'm been facing is I just had to constantly open the browser and my IDE in a separate window and uh, keep changing it. And I hate that. And probably every developer will hate that actually. So that's the pain point I want to solve. And real CSS instead of abstract styling tokens. Okay, I'm not familiar with this term. But anyway, we're just focusing on the CSS. Designers and developers operating on the same artifact. Yeah, that's the exact plan. This is genuinely important pain point in front-end engineering. Yes. The critical insight. Figma stores abstractions of UI. You want to store the UI itself. Yeah, that is a major artificial difference. Your proposed workflows actually becomes designer edits visually. Tool manipulates React Tree plus tailwind classes. Developers open same files and IDE. Production app already uses same components plus code. That removes handoff friction. Export pipelines, design drift, token mismatch. Responsive recreation programs. This is impossible to implement scenarios. Yeah. The biggest technical challenge will not be the canvas. It will be maintaining clean generated code, bidirectional synchronization between visual editor and source code, preventing the project from becoming a no-code spaghetti generator. That is where most visual builders fail. You should aggressively avoid becoming another low-code builder, another drag and drop website maker, another export React code tool because the moment generated code, unreadable developers leave. Yeah, okay. You should probably think of this as visual ID for React UI systems. Okay, these are the next steps I want to discuss, but that alone solves many implementation messages. You should probably think of this as visual ID for React UI systems. Okay, so I just use Figma alternative just because of the audience, but other than that, everything is fine. Yeah, phase one. So this is where I need to get started. Yeah. So we just focus on the MVP, which is just going to be show the actual React code in the canvas. So we are just not focusing on the bidirectional as of now. We are just focusing on the UI. Okay. So do not start with multiplayer cloud theme. Yo, okay, I was not about thinking these. Okay, those are traps. Yeah, exactly. The first success condition. A developer can visually edit a React page faster than manually editing JSX. Yeah. If that works, the foundation is real. So why am I confident that it works? Because I already have a prototype which is working as expected, but I basically wipe coded it and it is not at all readable. So I was just debugging and thought, why not start again? So this time I'm just going to write every code, each and every code. I just thought it was not possible to do such thing, but the AI proved me wrong, so again I'm just focusing on starting it again. But this time I'm just going to be writing each and every code with the help of AI. So just going to show you how you can use AI effectively if you are a intermediate or senior developer. Okay. So let's start with the MVP, which is going to be following. So first, let's start the V plus tail vector plus memory pool style. Then just focusing on showing the UI in the code in each and every window, every page in a separate canvas and a preview button to the actual server for the entire design page. Right now we are not focusing on the bi-directional, just showing the canvas. Okay, and one more thing, output of the code in the canvas. Yeah, and we are going to use the file-based routing same as the JSS and is. So basically it is just when I create a file or folder inside the actual folder such as SRC or app or whatever you have to call, it is going to create an empty canvas in the UI, and when I add code in the file, it uses hot reload to the content immediately, same as the next phase will other framework. So it is and big more alternative. I just use the term for the reshape. Okay. Yeah. So package is going to be like this. Playground is going to be example. Okay. Okay. I don't like TypeScript, so we are just going to avoid TypeScript. And okay. So right now we're just not focusing on building today because I just converted my Linux into Windows again. So I haven't installed any of the packages. Even I have to install Node, I guess. So let me do that later on. So right now we are just going to focus on creating the design plan and what are we going to do next. Okay, so now let's just focus on what are the tools we are going to use because I don't want to recreate everything from scratch. So we're just going to use some of the tools. So let us start working plan rather than developing today. So first question. So I'm not going to plan or design anything. So I already know how the prototype worked. So I'm not just focusing on recreating the same thing I just did with the prototype. I'm just going to give everything to the AI because right now we are living in the AI domain, and many young developers want to work with AI rather than developing from scratch. So this is going to be like a masterclass for all those young developers. So I'll just let AI decide what to do and what to do next. I'm just going to guide and other stuff. So the first question is What canvas engine are going to use? Okay. Dominative, browser native reactivity. The browser itself is your rendering engine. Initially be an isolated iframe runtime with viewport controls layered. Okay. So I'm going to stop here. Do not introduce Conva. Okay, I was using Pixie.js with my prototype, but this time it is saying I just don't want any canvas engine, but I just don't know why it is saying that. Let me reframe so that it will adjust accordingly. I guess we need a free canvas engine that is engine. The designer need to be able to move around the screen and place icons and other stuff. So yes, you need them. And I was using Pixie.js in my prototype. Right. So I just want to know why are you avoiding this time, or are you unaware of using and using items? Okay, I know what thought. It thought I just going to use canvas for the rendering of the UI. Hmm. I'm not going to use canvas for the actual rendering of the page element. Let react to the work areas on the overall layer where all the windows actually sits. Okay, yeah. So this is what I've been talking about. This is a very strong direction. And yes, in this episode, using something like PCJs actually makes sense. Because Pixie is no longer responsible for rendering the application UI itself. Yeah, it is responsible for the editor workspace, infinite canvas interaction, composting windows, performant movement slash navigation, editor level interaction. This is exactly where Pixie excels. Now the reasoning becomes why PixieJ is good here. Yeah, GPU actually okay. I'm not getting into why PixieJS is good compared to Conva. I just know it is GPU accelerated and other stuff. Okay. Simply you're not fighting a DOM layout engine anymore. Yeah. Okay. That was a misunderstanding between me and the AI. So this is the exact issue you will be facing when you work with AI. So you just need to provide every single context. So what you are thinking and everything. So you cannot expect the same result. So what you've been thinking in your mind because You need to provide better context for the AI to understand what it is actually building. So, yeah, that was a major issue previously. The React app remains fully dominative inside the iframe. Okay. So now the system resembles Pixie workspace. Page window. Okay, good. This is actually architecturally elegant. Yeah. Okay. 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 So that clear in next step is, so we're just going to have the Pixie. Okay. How do we render the actual React code with the UI? With my previous prototype, we were using double layer. One is CJS window, which is used to move on and other stuff. And on top of that, we had the actual page renderer. So it just uses the same size and position so that it looked like one. But I faced many issues like aligning, and when I wanted to change the dimensions, the page, or even when I want to preview, things start to break again. That because I was fully white toning and many things were breaking, but my idea was solid. But I want to hear from you. So making AI personal is a go-to option for me because it worked really well. So again, your original instinct was correct again. The issue was probably not the outage rate, it was synchronization ownership. You had Pixie window layer, DOM window layer, but likely both were trying to behave independently. That always became unstable. The current was a single source of truth for transforms. Yeah, this was the major problem with Pixie.js because the transforms were not working exactly as I planned, and internally it has some issues with the transforms. So yeah, meaning Pixie should not visually represent the window itself. Yeah, this is where I failed previously. So Pixie should just represent spatial metadata, interaction system, camera system. Okay, the DOM should generate the actual visible window. Okay, okay. Invisible interaction engine. Okay, I need to be clearing some of the things because again, I think it is failing context. So just use a calibration to better visualize stuffs. Okay, connect my drawing tool. Okay. So we're just having only 27 minutes more, which is a huge time because today we are not going to code anything. So we're just planning stuff. Okay. So let's consider this is the window. Okay. So inside this, let's say we would be having the nav bar here. And here we would be having the sidebar. Okay. And behind this layer, we would be having the pixie.js canvas. And so this is the actual visualization. So again, just going to provide this to the ChatGPT. This is the visualization plan in the thing I'm talking about. The page one and page two, which is going to be a dual layer, one with the chair below and because we need to place the render in order to move. Yeah, yeah, the node editor workspace is a great that one on. The page is an object inside a workspace. That means page one and page two are not just DOM elements, they are workspace entities. So your layered approach becomes correct. Your sketch essentially represents. Hmm. Should remind DOM, yeah. But when I just move, the DOM layer should react to that. So I just don't know how it will do that. Let me just ask it. Okay, so, proceed with your approach is when I respond with the how does the DOM react, and that's just uh, hmm, yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm just going to use Justin because it is easy to set up and I don't want React Context Manager, which is a pain in the ass. Does not move it down manually. Pixie does not move it down. Yeah, okay. Now I understood what it's trying to do. I just wanted to confirm from the AI side that it really understood what I'm trying to ask. Okay, so this is just the UI styles. So now let's design how it actually looks in the IDE style. Okay. Mm, let's say this is the IDE, and this is going to be our file. Just a moment. Okay, so this is going to be the code editor. Okay, so the real so this is user's perspective. User's perspective. So when a user is using the Mosbius design, it just instead of having them, you just you have let's say SRC and I will complete this. So SRC with the folders and then components, the folders like that. So it is going to be neat. Just a rough diagram. Okay, let's just give it to the okay, this is what and nothing else. This is just basic example. The SRC with the actual file and then components. Will have a separate it come to that later and styles folder and so on. So when I create a file inside the just automatically create a new window in the canvas and okay. So that's the actual process and we're just running out of time. So let's just discuss about the next features and we'll just wind up today. Yeah, file system watcher, which is default in wheat so that we can use that and hot reload module is also available in the wheat. So we are just not recreating anything. We're just using the things which are available to us. So that is being said, yeah, watcher detects that. Okay, Yeah, so this is what I'm been talking about. Okay, so HMR, hot model reload. Okay, okay. So yeah, I guess ChatGPT understood what I'm trying to say. Why am I not using Claude? This will be a great question because it just dominates the AI coding field. The reason is it is too expensive and I can't afford it. But ChatGPT, even I'm using just the free plan, just sufficient enough because I'm just going to write every code. It is just going to be my guide. Okay. So the this step to discuss the state management after looking by Google understand it was with simplicity, especially because it's in a spatial, critical, and event-driven language. Yeah, I don't want Redux. But if I have API management, I would absolutely choose Redux over Sustain because the boilerplate is very good with the JWT auth. So right now I'm just going to use only Wheat and Tailwind setup, so no server based. It is going to be npm package, mono repo, so no Redux, and oh my god, and I don't want the React context manager, which is also very complex. Yeah, you should say the source. Okay. Yeah, you should not create one giant. Yeah. That becomes a nightmare later. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. So that's being said, it was appreciated. Okay. So this is all just that stuff. Okay. So the next unique feature I want to add is we are going to use Git as the time traveler feature. So I'll just explain it in a minute. First, let me explain it with the AI. So basically, what we are trying to achieve is since we are using the React code as the source of truth, we have an option that is to use Git because we do not want to store the state in order to undo and redo. And one more thing is if we add more number of undos and redos, we do n number of storage. So this is all data structure. So just implementing the things I learned with the DSA. So basically it is O of n. So when I add more number of undos and redos, the space complexity will also be O of n. So instead, we are just going to use git. So the reason we are doing it is not only because of undo and redo, it also serves a very important and unique feature that I'm going to tell you now. And also, it will be linear. I have to undo, jump to a state. Instead, git offers a very unique status to time travel directly into the past code instead of undo. And also, we have another option that is to branch out. So let's say we have a design and we need to, and we decided to work, we decided to work with the color later on, and we moved on to the next thing. And we again uh, color, but we now want to remove some of the things we created after we adjusted the colors, and we thought to undo something or simply we want to move to a previous state. We need to keep undoing into the past in order to get into a state. And then let's say we just edited and we like the previous version better compared to the current version. And in Sigma, you need to create the same design from scratch again. But with this approach, everything is stored inside Git, and we can just open the Git editor, which we would add in the UI, and then click to the state that we want to branch out and experiment with the design. And if we decided to go with the previous version, we can simply jump back to the current head and we can continue working. And even if we wish to go to the client and if they liked it, better. We can again jump to that in an instant. Of one. So if there's options in the developer designer and it is not something implementing it fully naturally. I am running out of time. Just 1 minute left. So let's just wind up for today. This is the strongest idea I've mentioned so far. Because this is no longer undo slash redo. This becomes source code, source control native design iteration. That is a fundamentally different paradigm, and importantly, it aligns perfectly with your core philosophy. Code is the source of truth. Once that becomes true, it naturally becomes history system, branching system, experimentation system, snapshot system, collaboration system, recovery system. This is extremely elegant architecturally because you are leveraging an already battle-tested system instead of reinventing history stacks, snapshot storage civilization. Yeah, this is an inspiration from Blender because it uses the same kind of node editor which I can use for time travel, but it uses internal storage instead of something like Git. So they have reinvented everything from scratch. But here I'm just going to use Git, which is very easy to implement. And we ran out of time today, so we just conclude what we did today. So let's just finish what it said. Yeah, graph base. That is a massive concept upgrade. Yeah, so this is the example. Just just to read because I ran out of time. This is especially powerful because developers already understand Git mentally. Yeah, so that's so basically it is only for the developers who will have more benefit than the designers. But the designers now actually can call themselves as developers because side by side they are getting a developer environment just when they are designing. So that is also a plus point for the designer as well. So instead of teaching proprietary version history, you educate. That is strategically very smart. Now, the most important organizational realization, you should not think of this as using Git for undo. You should think of it as workspaces and commits. Yeah, do not commit on every tiny iteration. Yeah, okay, that I actually done with the previous implementations. I will just I will just commit only the important decisions that that will happen in the code side. So we are just, let's say we have just changed a color, we can immediately update that. And even if a developer wants to add some custom rules when to commit, They can just immediately go and update the code in the package side, and they can have that freedom to, yeah, otherwise report, but yeah, performance dies. History becomes unusable. Yeah, semantic checkpoints, yeah. So that that will work on the fly. So code workspace layout, this is critical. Otherwise, jumping between commit user workspace. Yeah. Okay. So times up. Let us conclude discuss so far. So I'm just going to read. Go ahead and that. All right. So today we finalize the core architecture and direction for Mosbius designs. The project is no longer being positioned as just a Figma clone. Instead, it is becoming a developer-first visual runtime workspace for React applications, where the actual source of truth is the React code itself along with Tailwind CSS. The entire philosophy is what you see inside the editor is the actual application running in real time, not a metadata representation like traditional design tools. We decided that the MVP will focus only on the core runtime experience first, instead of trying to build a complete design platform immediately. The initial stack will be Vite, React, Tailwind, TypeScript, PNPMO. Okay, PNPMO was good. TypeScript we'll just discuss it later. And Justin for state management, PixieJS for the workspace engine. The architecture is split into two major systems. The first system is the workspace engine powered by PixieJS that is responsible for infinite canvas movement, panning and zooming, dragging windows, resizing, snapping, spatial interactions. The second system is the actual runtime renderer. This is where the real React application runs. Each page inside the project will automatically become its own visual runtime window inside the workspace. So when a developer creates something like a page, Mosbius automatically detects the file, creates a runtime window, mounts the React page, enables hot reload instantly. This creates a direct relationship between the file system and the visual workspace. The browser itself becomes the rendering engine instead of trying to recreate layouts manually. We also finalized the dual-layer architecture. PixieJS will not render the actual application UI. Instead, PixieJS handles interact and spatial positioning. React DOM handles the actual visual rendering. Both systems communicate through a centralized sustained state store. Okay. The solves the synchronization and alignment issues from the earlier prototype. We also clarified that Pixie controls behavior, React controls visuals. The workspace itself will function more like a visual operating system for front-end projects rather than a traditional design canvas. We also finalized that only route/page files will become runtime windows initially. Components will be handled separately later. The MVP will focus entirely on pages and routing. Another major discussion was around state management. We decided to use Rust because lightweight, simple, scalable for editor style software, perfect for high frequency spatial updates. We also plan to split the state into multiple domain stores such as camera store, workspace store, file system store, runtime store, selection store. Finally, we discussed one of the most unique features of the project, Git powered time travel. Instead of implementing traditional undo and redo system, Mosbius will use Git as the actual history engine. Because the source of truth is real code, Git naturally becomes the undo system, the branching system, the snapshot system, the experimentation system. This removes the limitations of linear undo histories. Instead of undoing step by step, users can instantly jump to previous states, branch out design experiments, compare alternate UI directions, restore old designs immediately, experiment freely without losing work. This effectively turns the design workflow into a graph-based history system powered by Git. And since Git already handles this compression snapshot branches history, we avoid building a complete custom process engine from scratch. So overall, today's sessions finalize the core philosophy, the runtime architecture, the workspace architecture, the rendering pipeline, the state management system, and the Git native time travel system. The next step will be converting all of this into actual project structure, technical specifications, and implementation milestones for the MVP. Okay, so I guess we'll just stop it for today, and let's end this video. History will stop immediately and we'll be like, yeah.